Now, Buddhism and Jainism. They are called world religions, but really they are world class, first class teachings of world class, first class teachers like the Buddha and Mahavira that lived about 2,500 years back. 2,500 years ago. These were great teachers. I really need to do a couple of things here. I need to prepare my students' mind to be able to understand the relationship between Buddhism and Jainism. I've been talking about Buddhism. Jainism is an advanced form of Buddhism. Advanced. It's the real teachings that came from Lord Mahavira. Okay, some of history sort of inferences, draws the inference that Lord Mahavira was Buddha's teacher. The Buddha studied in the school of Lord Mahavira. The same thing, their rules are the same, the teachings are so connected. Of course, that history tells us to some degree that the Buddha must have been a student, one of the best students. I mean, of course, he was excellent, first class student, but he studied Jain teachings in his time. And then he discovered that these Jain teachings were, it was going to be difficult for human beings to directly follow them because they are standards that are very high, just like Jesus Christ in the Bible. Many of you folks have Christian foundations like I have. In the Bible, Jesus Christ starts by telling his disciples to love. Love your neighbors as you love yourself. This is my commandment. The commandment of Christ was to love. Okay, human beings have to have this feeling of love. He said, have the feeling, it's my commandment. Have the feeling of love for all human beings. Very important. But then at a point, Jesus Christ now advances this teaching to the next level. When students get their first degree in college, they go for graduate studies. They want to get a PhD, some of them that are really good. Jesus Christ now challenges these students who have been practicing love to love their enemies. He said, somebody that doesn't love your enemies, you have to love your enemies as well. Jesus Christ has gone to the advanced level of love. If you don't have the fundamental capacity to love, how can you love your enemies? If you've not been to college, if you don't have a first degree, how can we talk about a PhD? Okay? So this is Christ going to the advanced level. That's exactly what Mahavira is. So when Mahavira finished teaching the Buddha, these teachings I'm about to read to you, these are heavenly teachings. These teachings are dealing with perfect standards of what perfect humanity is to be like. Human beings that are not charmed by material things. Human beings that are not able to kill their neighbors because of material things. Human beings that can control themselves, can restrain themselves. When they're in a material world, they become divine beings. Lord Mahavira is trying to take humanity to divinity. We are here to live our best possible lives, not our worst lives. We are not here to retrogress. We are here to make progress. Let's make progress. Let's advance. So Lord Mahavira is that great teacher that brings advancement to humanity. Where in a material world, we have to learn to control ourselves before material things. We have to learn to restrain ourselves when we see material things. We don't have to kill our neighbors because of material things. We don't have to kill others. It's going on in the world today. We all hear the news. People are doing this, and it's always been like that because they cannot control themselves. They cannot behave properly. They cannot restrain themselves. It's always been like that. They've not learned the good teachings of the Buddha. They've not learned the good teachings of Mahavira. They've not learned the good teachings of Christ. And but these countries fighting today, we all know what countries. They are not going to mention them. They are Christian. They claim to be Christians. So it's important for us to learn the teachings. We have to learn the teachings. We're in a material world. How do we live in a material world and discipline ourselves before material things? Should I go and kill my neighbors and take their material things? No. So this is what the Buddha is teaching. Now, where the Buddha is actually receiving glory here is for being able to bring the great teachings of Lord Mahavira to a platform where human beings are actually able to take these teachings and marry these teachings and understand these teachings and apply these teachings to actually improve themselves. We are here to improve ourselves. If we find good teachers, we're going to learn good teachings and we will improve ourselves. If I find somebody to teach me how to behave myself, how to conduct myself wisely, how to restrain myself, how to control myself when I see a material world filled with beautiful material things, and I'm not going to kill my neighbors or kill the next village because of material things, I can control myself, bring myself to total control, and still achieve these material things. In fact, some of the wealthiest people in India, billionaires, they are Jain. Some of the billionaires in the wealthiest Indians, the vast majority of taxpayers in India belong to the Jain school. So they've just trained, they've learned how to conduct themselves properly with material things, how to go to school, receive an education, work properly with material things, and have billions of dollars, if you may, without doing harm to your neighbors, without even doing harm to an animal. This is how far the Jain teachings go. And prepare your mind to receive these teachings because you're going to be hearing fantastic heavenly teachings right now. And you as a human being who is still developing, you're going to see these teachings like in heaven. These teachings are going to be way beyond your level. You know, you have the virtues like teaching a high school student about a PhD. The high school student still has to go to college and get a first degree before he goes to graduate school to get a master's and the PhD. So it's still way out there. So the virtues you're going to hear me read, which is Jainism, which is from Lord Mahavira, who history says probably was a teacher of the Buddha. These teachings, in fact, they are advanced. You can see Jainism is advanced Buddhism. It's really advanced. You can perceive the virtues, but you just can't reach it. So that's where the Buddha received the greatness. The glory of the Buddha was having studied these Jain teachings, these wonderful, beautiful heavenly teachings that teaches human beings how to conduct themselves before material things in a material world and still achieve success. The Buddha now brings these teachings to a platform he calls the middle way. The Buddha had to reform things. For instance, an excellent instance, Lord Mahavira, the teacher, was a naked ascetic. What am I doing with clothes? I don't need clothes. Lord Mahavira had developed himself to a level whereby I could perceive. Okay? So what about me? Look, I'm decently dressed. I can't even imagine not having my clothes on. Okay? But Mahavira had no clothes on. So that shows you his level of enlightenment. Very high level. So the Buddha had to put clothes on. The Buddha said, no, I'm going to bring this teaching to the level in which human beings can mount the ladder. Human beings have to be able to climb the ladder. You have a long building. You've built a 10-story building. And you're trying to go to the 10th floor. You're going to have to take an elevator from the first floor to go to the 10th. You're going to have to take the escalator, the staircase from the first to the 10th. You can't just jump up to the 10th floor. You're going to have to find some ways to climb. Okay, from the first floor to the second floor to the third floor to the fourth, the fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and then the 10th floor. Very important. So this glory belongs to the Buddha. That's where Buddhism comes from. Buddhism helps us to bridge the gap towards this fantastic, perfect, incredible, heavenly, wonderful, most wonderful teachings called Jainism. Okay? So the Buddha brings these beautiful teachings to what we call Buddhism, which is Buddha's reform. The Buddha had to reform. The Buddha had to be very intelligent. He had to bring good teachings, heavenly teachings, wonderful teachings that makes the conduct, the character, the person of a human being so perfect and so beautiful that human beings actually become gods. Okay, Jesus Christ, John chapter 10, verse 34, Jesus Christ spells it out clearly. He says to us, you are gods. Jesus Christ tells us that in the Bible, John chapter 10, verse 34, right? You are gods. But we need to be beautiful like gods in character. We need to have the conduct. So that's where Buddha comes in to bridge the gap. You need a bridge to cross the stream, otherwise you drown in the waters if you cannot swim. So now the Buddha brings us this beautiful platform called Buddhism, whereby he begins to develop us gradually. He put on his clothes. They have to be naked, like Mahavira, the wonderful teacher. So get to perfection, you have to get to perfection in degrees. Gradually, the Buddha begins to bring us gradual development. Stop killing animals. Stop doing harm to your neighbors. Gradually, you will come to liberation eventually. You'll be able to free yourself. You come to enlightenment and then liberation. You'll be free souls. You have to come gradually. Okay? So that's where we're going. Now, once your mind is set, you listen carefully. I'm going to read you this wonderful Jain teaching called The Leaf of the Tree. The Leaf of the Tree. I'm just going to breeze through it because I believe for the past 10 minutes I have actually prepared your mind. You have very little questions at this time. Okay, this is what the Jain teaches, Lord Mahavira, and he mentions Gautama, which is the Buddha, and he actually ends, the last verse talks about Buddha himself. So this is a brilliant connection showing us historically how Mahavira must have instructed the Buddha, these wonderful teachings. But let's quickly go through them and then you meditate and contemplate as we proceed. As the fallow leaf of the tree falls to the ground, when its days are gone, even so the life of man will come to its close. Gautama, since I already mentioned that's the Buddha, Gautama, be careful all the while. So this instruction is going to Gautama, which we believe must be Gautama Siddhartha the Buddha. Okay? As a dew, we are on verse 2, as a dew drop dangling on the top of a blade of kusa grass lasts but a short time, even so the life of man. Gautama, be careful all the while. I'm going to the third verse. As life is so fleet and existence so precarious, wipe off the sins you ever committed, Gautama. The third verse. I'm going to the fourth. A rare chance in the long course of time is human birth for a living being. Human birth for a living being. Hard are the consequences of actions, Gautama. I'm going to the fifth verse. When the soul has once got into an earth body, it may remain in the same state as long as an asankhya, Gautama. I'm going to verse 6. When the soul has once got into a water body, okay, we repeat, just as in the previous verse. Okay, it says, all as in verse 5. That is, it may remain in the same state as long as an asankhya. Okay? Verse 7. When a soul has once got into a fire body, or as in verse 5, which means it may remain in the same state as long as an asankhya. Verse 8. When the soul has once got into a wind body, again, all as in verse 5, that is, it may remain in the same state as long as an asankhya. Verse 9. When the soul has once got into a vegetable body, it remains long in that state for an endless time, after which its lot is not much battered, Gautama. Gautama is still being instructed by Lord Mahavira. When the soul has once got into a body of a Vindriya, that is a being possessing two organs of sense, it may remain in the same state as long as a period called Sankhya, Gautama. Verse 11. When the soul has once got into a body of a Trindriya, that is a being possessing three organs of sense. Again, we refer back to verse 10. It may remain in the same state as long as a period called Sankhya. Verse 12. When the soul has once got into a body of a Katurindriya, that is a being possessing four organs of sense. Again, back to 10. All as in verse 10. It may remain in the same state as long as a period called Samkhya. Verse 13. Verse 13. When the soul has once got into a body of a pancandria, that is a being possessing 5 organs of sense, it may remain in the same state as long as 7 or 8 births. Gautama, still receiving instructions from Lord Mahavira. When the soul has once got into the body of a god or of a denizen of hell, it may remain in that state one whole life, Gautama. Thus, the soul which suffers for its carelessness is driven about in the samsara by its good and bad karma, Gautama. Verse 16. Though one be born as a man, it is a rare chance to become an Arya, for many are the Dasyus and Mlechas, Gautama. Verse 17. Though one be born as an Arya, it is a rare chance to possess all 5 organs of sense, for we see many who lack one organ or the other, Gautama. Though he may possess all 5 organs of sense, still it is a rare chance to be instructed in the best law, for people follow heretical teachers, Gautama. Though he may have been instructed in the right law, still it is a rare chance to believe in it, for many people are heretics, Gautama. So it's clear that Lord Mahavira is instructing Gautama, which very likely historically might mean Gautama Siddhartha the Buddha. It tells us Buddha at the end of the writing. Though one believes in the law, he will rarely practice it, for people are engrossed by pleasures, Gautama. When your body grows old and your hair turns white, the power of your ears decreases, Gautama. When your body grows old and your hair turns white, the power of your eyes decreases, Gautama. When your body grows old and your hair turns white, the power of your nose decreases. When your body grows old and your hair turns white, the power of your tongue decreases. When your body grows old and your hair turns white, the power of your touch decreases. When your body grows old and your hair turns white, all your powers decrease. Despondency, the king's evil, cholera, mortal diseases of many kinds befall you, your body wastes and decays, Gautama. Cast aside from you all attachments, as the leaves of a lotus let drop off the autumnal water. Exempt from every attachment, Gautama. Be careful all the while. Give up your wealth and your wife. You have entered the state of the houseless. Do not, as it were, return to your vomit, Gautama. See, these teachings are advanced. They are high level. You develop gradually towards them. You can't just jump to the 10th floor. You have to take the stairs from the first. Leave your friends and relations, the large fortune you have amassed. Do not desire them a second time, Gautama. There is now no Jina, but there is a highly esteemed guide to show the way. Now, being on the right path, Gautama, be careful all the while. Now you have entered on the path from which the thorns have been cleared, the great path. Walk in the right path, Gautama. Do not get into an uneven road like a weak burden bearer, for you will repent of it afterwards, Gautama. You have crossed the great ocean. Why do you halt so near the shore? Make haste to get on. Make haste to get on the other side, Gautama. Going through the same religious practices as perfected saints, you will reach the world of perfection, Gautama, where there is safety and perfect happiness, Gautama. The enlightened and liberated monk should control himself. The enlightened and liberated monk should control himself. Okay? Monk, when I say monk, he means male or female, monk or nun. Always remember, anytime you hear me use the word monk, it's male and female. It means monk or nun. Okay? In the ancient monasteries, those who came to develop themselves to perfection, okay, male and female, the monks and nuns, they live the monastic lives. Human beings who really aspire for perfection. They don't want any more obstacles in the world. They don't want any more distractions. They want to concentrate on their perfect selves. I want to live the best possible life I can live. I want to discipline myself and move towards perfection. You have to retire to the monastery and take the monastic disciplines and concentrate on perfection. No more, seriously, no more distractions. So that's why they go to monastic disciplines, to work on their perfection. Move towards your best self. Live the best life and attain perfection without distractions. That was what these great folks did, male and female, thousands of years back. So monk is monk or nun. I take 36 again. The enlightened and liberated monk or nun should control himself or herself. That's how we write the scripts nowadays. Whether he or she be in a village or a town, and he or she should preach to all the road of peace, Gautama. Having heard the Buddha's well-delivered sermon, see, Mahavira is referring to himself as the Buddha, because the Buddha just means enlightened master, the master who's received enlightenment, the professor who teaches the student in a university setting. That professor will be the enlightened one, and the student will be the one developing towards trying to get his PhD or his degree. So 37 reads, having heard the Buddha's well-delivered sermon, adorned by illustrations, Gautama, cut off love and hatred, and reach perfection. Thus I say. And that is the end of this wonderful sutra of Jainism. Now you may proceed and meditate. A word is enough for the wise.